But that's not also true. Why? Because you are making an assumption. Supposing this rock is older than this rock, or this rock is younger than this rock, and you have this doesn't have the radioactive material, this one has, then what is going to happen? Open your mind, ask questions. You will see it's not easy. That picture that you just painted, that this is between two rocks and I have dated them, is not that simple. If you start challenging them, you will see the problems. This is what I'm saying. You don't know, therefore you can't challenge it. This is not obvious. Okay, let's look at the third point. You see, it is very difficult to match up rock beds that are not directly next to one another. In fact,
Bani Israel also asked so many questions about the cow.
If they can ask if they can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala those questions, why are you shy to ask this kind of questions?
And they get trouble after asking so many questions.
But inshallah, when you ask this one, you get relief.
Relief, okay.
That was Allah.
So for them, it's fine. We need to ask questions.
Such index fossil must be distinctive. There's a fossil index. You know, we talked about molecular clock. There are fossil index fossils against which you date them. So, for instance, there's a fossil A. We say this is index because it is found so many places, and this fossil is supposed to be, say, 25 million years ago, right? Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, just remembered now. Okay, so now let me ask you this: if I find this fossil with another fossil somewhere else, say Antarctica, and I know I have established that this is 25 million years ago, right? I will say conclude that this is also 25 million years ago, right?
Yeah, we assume, yeah.
Right? Am I wrong?
No.
Now, if this one turns out to be false,
That will be
then this will be wrong too.
Yeah.
This is what he's talking about, index fossils. The mechanism, if one is wrong, the others will go wrong again.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Where is this thing? So let's just backtrack here and this was the methods. So this was some open questions I just gave you here. I cannot do justice to this topic here because this is, in 1 hour we cannot go through all these things. Let's look at history of paleontology. This is more interesting for the layman. Okay, so this is nothing new. So before we continue, I have a question for you. From all these examples that we see, especially this, fossils have been found since ancient times, right? The Greeks knew them, the Chinese knew them, the Indians knew them, the Muslims knew about them. What is different from that time and today's time? The only thing is interpretations have changed. The value on those fossils, the value, what moral, what judgment you can get out of there, right? That's what's changing. Ibn Sina wrote extensively. You know who is Ibn Sina, right? Everybody knows Ibn Sina. Right? He wrote about fossils. His theory was actually accepted for almost 300 years. His theory on the fossils was accepted for 300 years. Till it was changed in the modern times. So, I'm not going to answer this question, but I'm giving you this question so that you can keep thinking about it when we come to the end of this. Why is it that fossils are playing such an important part in today's modern thought? Think about it as we go along. Okay? Right? Okay, next, let's go next one here. You missed the first part. So, this word paleontology was actually invented in 1822. No one knew about paleontology, the word itself, prior to that. Okay? So, let me emphasize this thing for here so that everybody understands why I'm saying that. When a word is invented, that means some social conditions must have changed. Give you an example so that people can understand. Selfie was not known before 2014. Yeah, something around that. Now selfie came about. It came about through a process. Somebody just didn't sit down and say, today I will call this selfie. there was something going on around the world, technologically, politically, socially, culturally, legally, and then this word came out. This is what I'm trying to say. Paleontology, the world just somebody just didn't say, oh, today, you know what? I will invent this word. No, it doesn't happen that way. Things happen. Things happen, right? You get what the point I'm trying to say here? So, what we are just saying, the nature of philosophy, the science of that time, encourage alternative explanations for the origin of fossils. If you can see here in this thing, people had different ideas about what fossils are and how they came about. Giants and ghosts and jinns and, you know, depending on their worldview point. During the age of reason, fundamental change happened. Okay, we'll address this later on. So the first interesting thing about in the history of paleontology is bone wars. I don't know if anyone here has heard about the bone wars. I don't think anyone has. So bone wars was basically a competition between two scientists, Edward Brinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh. Each of them was known as E.D. Cope and O.C. Marsh. This was how they are known. These were the most, these people are the ones who have played the most prominent part in the fossil world today. The fossil, not, the study, we are talking about fossils, like digging up the fossils, presenting it. These are the two key figures. Between them, I think they extracted 126, 156 fossils, I can't remember. And, that's a huge amount for two people to do that. But both of them hated each other. And they hated each other. I cannot go into that. Several books, movies have been constructed on this thing. So this is like a separate, if you want to talk about this, is like a separate topic altogether. And they used bribery, theft, coercion, every kind of thing, you name it, they used against each other. They used every kind of thing, writing the wrong thing. Like in the scientific journal, because of the eagerness to be the first to do it, they made serious errors, mistakes, malicious ones, sometimes outright fraud, just so that they can be the first one to claim, this thing. That's the bone wars. I don't think anybody understood that. People think, oh, I dig up this thing and I'm neutral and, I'm so, honest and, I will present the facts. This is the reality. This is the founders of fossils. So what is this saying? If such be the priest, God bless the congregation. Right? If such people are the ones who are digging up, if, behavior, immodest, corrupt, morally corrupt.
And they have blind trust in these people.
If these are the people who are going to present you these views and you are going to accept them, then God bless you.
Yeah. True.
So this is the least. Let's look at this dinosaur here. This is called the Brontosaurus. This dinosaur, I have personal experience with this because this was my favorite dinosaur. Okay, so it'd be huge, and the way it was written, huge, and it blah 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 blah. Oh my goodness, I was
the most innocent.
Wow. Yes, he's most innocent, and with chubby eyes, and what was it? I was 12 years old when I came across this, and anyway, so I can't. Okay, so what is the reality of this Brontosaurus? Let's look at it. Let's look at the reality of this Brontosaurus. I'm just taking a snapshot. Remember, this is highlights. I can't go into details. Forget extinct. The Brontosaurus never even existed. This is
really?
Yes. Okay. And this is the headline. If you go and read the paper, it's so interesting to read. It's marvelous. Okay. When you talking about how okay. Then some years later, the Brontosaurus is back. This was when? This was 2012. Okay. 2015 is back. Oh, no, we made a mistake. It should exist.
No, opposite.
Just think about this, brothers. Brothers, wait. Think about it. If a alim just said something wrong today or right today and contradicted himself tomorrow, you know what that will be in the media?
He loses his credibility.
Forget about his credibility. No, the religion loses credibility. Forget about his credibility.
It will challenge.
Am I wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever guys heard about this?
No. Did not highlight it.
Why? Okay, and the story of this thing is very interesting.
Is it
Initial, so
the same writing? Different.
no, this is different magazines.
Someone.
So let me give you. It will be coming across what happened. So Marsh was the actual one who discovered this Brontosaurus. Marsh, remember the guy, the dude, you know what I was talking about. In his haste, so he discovered. This is what. Where's Brother Fawad? He was asking these questions. He has left. Okay. So he discovered the fossil headless. At the same time, he discovered two other fossils. He attached the skull of one on them and called it Brontosaurus. This is actual happened. This is actual, and for this happened in 1879. O.C. Marsh did that. In 1903, the mistake was discovered, and then that this is wrong. And then in what happened in 2015 or 2014, another study was done. It said, no, we made a mistake. And let's look at the study, the new study that was done. Let's look at how careful these people are. So this 300-page study analyzed 477 different physical features of 81 sauropod specimens. You might think this is something big I'm talking about. Let's continue on our presentation. You will see what this 81 species specimens really mean. Let's look at it later on. Okay. The fossil on which, but he is saying, the guy who doesn't accept the study, this 300-page study, he said, but you didn't study the main fossil. Why? You studied, all that, but you didn't study the main fossil? Why? I'm not going to buy it. He says, maybe, but I think the verdict is still out. I'm not going to accept that the Brontosaurus is back. Huh? So what does he conclude with? He says, in other words, research that helped resurrect Brontosaurus may have birthed new mysteries as well. You know what that translates to, brothers? Do you know what that means? It means basically we went to ask a question, but instead of answering the question, we came back with more questions. This is what it means. But that is not how it is written. That's not how it is written. So this boy, he reads this, he says, oh, wow, the scientists are doing great work. Right? Let's continue here. So let's look at 10 huge mix-ups in paleontology now. We just talked about one Brontosaurus never existed. These are the 10 big ones. I'm not even talking about minor ones here right now. Okay? A fossil was found in West Virginia, and it was sent to President Jefferson because he was a avid collector of fossils, and he came up and says, you know what this is? This is a giant cat. Blah 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 blah. Okay? Turns out he was wrong. It was a giant sloth. You know the difference between a cat and a sloth? A cat is, how fast cat is? The exact opposite of fast. A sloth takes about 6 hours to move from the bottom of the tree to the top of the tree, or vice versa. 6 hours. They sleep more than 18 hours a day. So an opposite of a cat would be a sloth. Do you see how wrong you can be? Where's Brother Fawad? Yeah. He's talking. You can get a footprint of a person, but to extrapolate other information is difficult. Right? So we already talked about Brontosaurus. So this is, he wanted to display the Marsh fitted one specimen with the skull found nearby and the other with the skull he found in Colorado. Boom. Voila, that was Brontosaurus. This is how Brontosaurus came about. And this is the one that this is the dinosaur that my kids and your kids are they shove down the throat.
So who's challenging to Marshall this statement?
Sorry,
Who's challenging to Marshall?
who's
Who passed this statement? And Marshall actually found one.
No, that was the writer who's writing this
Okay.
thing. So that was Brontosaurus. Let's continue here. Do we have? Can I move from here? Oh yeah. There's another one called Elsamosaurus. This was even more interesting. Actually, this caused big problem with Marsh and Cope. What he did in his rush to do this thing, he placed the tail in place of the tail. He put it in the neck, so it looked like a long neck dinosaur, and and then the people made fun of him. He said, "What did you do?" So he had to, Can you imagine that? The tail in the leg. Has anyone heard about it? No. Think about it. If Ali makes a mistake today, what happens? Before the day is over, you have like five WhatsApp messages. Right?
To criticize you.
Okay, so next one we have, look at this one. This is another interesting one. A single fossil was found, a single tooth was found in Nebraska. Okay? And this guy, Henry Ford Osborne, who is the president of the American Museum of Natural History, naturally a big person, based on that single tooth, this is what they reconstructed. And it turned out to be that this was actually a gorilla or something, I don't remember, a pig. I think it was a pig's teeth. It was a pig's teeth. It was a pig's teeth. As an ancient pig. Some of these very interesting. These are some depictions in among the mushriks. They had their gods like this, and the fossils are like this. What does it tell you? What does it tell you?
They're wishful thinking.
I leave these things to you guys. You don't. The problem is we don't ask this question. We don't know, so we can't ask these questions. Let's next go. Herodotus and stale food. In the pyramids they found something, and Herodotus, the Greek historian, he thought these are lentils. People ate it and threw it there. Now scientists say no, these are trace fossils. Okay. This is another lady in red. There was this bishop who found a skeleton, in his back, in his area, and he thought it was because of Noah's flood. He was a bishop, right? But now modern science says no. Is a woman? Is a man, and he was So what I'm trying to say is, interpretation changes based on your viewpoint. World viewpoint. The guy had a world viewpoint of Noah's flood. He takes that. Today you have a different viewpoint. I don't know. 200 years from now, what would the viewpoint will be? This one I'll just skip it because we have kids around here, so just leave that one here. Okay. And Iguanodon, this is another big dinosaur that is thrown around. Everything was wrong about this thing. It was supposed to be walking on all fours. It turned out to be, now it is bipedal. It has a horn on its nose. They pointed a horn on its nose, but actually it turned out to be its thumb. That's what they say. I don't know tomorrow what it will be. Today, I don't know. Okay, so there was a big fight who claimed discovery on this fossil between the wife of the paleontologist and the wife himself. They had a big, and they divorced each other. So that's the sociological aspect of these things. Nobody talks about this. Okay. This is one that we can skip this one. Now look at how interpretations of dinosaurs have changed since Victorian times, when the 16th century, when they started studying. This is one dinosaur. This is how it was depicted, and now this is how it's depicted. So this is the Brontosaurus. Remember, it never existed. It existed. It never existed. Flip flop. So this is what's happening. Now the reconstruction is like this. Okay? This is how a Megasaurus looks like. Okay? And this is how it looks like now. Look at this, compare this. On fours, see? Fundamental difference. Fundamental, and I mean, you can't even say that this and this is the same thing. Unless someone, I tell you, or someone tells me, I don't know that these are the same thing.
It's a different kind of dinosaur.
Iguanodon, look at this, and look at this. Do they look similar? Look at the posture.
Question is, if they had a fossil so much year, why is it different?
We'll come to that. From
the previous picture they have made the T-Rex now.
Look at this. This is the first time Stegosaurus was depicted like this. Then it changed to this, and now it is this.
Fashions are changing.
Right, fashions are changing. Megasaurus, this is how it looks like initially, and this is how it looks like later on, and now, the whole thing is it doesn't, that's not, this is how it looks like now, I believe. This is how it looks like now.
Long time.
Okay? Look at this. This is how it looked like. Okay? This is actually, this creation is of an artist, not even a scientist. Okay? And this is how it looks like now.
So it lost in the interpretation of a scientist and an artist.
Yeah. This is how it looks like. Aquatic Brontosaurus. Okay? And this assumption, as we know, is now incorrect. Okay? So this is T-Rex, the most famous one of them. See, this is how it looked like initially, and in Jurassic Park, it looks like this. Huh? But who knows, in 20 or 30 years, we will be laughing at how goofy we were ever to think of this thing.
Do you think so? Or we will be more goofy?
So, but
Someone's gonna decline.
because he has confidence in computer modeling and blah, 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 so he says, no, we should be good.
Depend on business, how much money make.
Give you more examples of how things have gone wrong. Look, this is from, 2009? Natural History Museum sauropod exhibit anatomically wrong. Okay? This is in a museum, it was wrong. Okay? From BBC, wrong. This is a 10-year-old guy who pointed out,
Error.
this is wrong. Okay? From New York Times.